us our Director of School of Commerce and Management, Dr. Abhilasha, as well as a galaxy of intellectuals from Vanita Visham family and our dear students. I am delighted to share that today is the third session of the quiz, and I am sure that by taking baby steps towards that will contribute to our progress along the way of knowledge. And the first thing I would like to do to thank our faculty members who have shown their keen interest in sharing their perspective and ideas. And I am glad to share that all the slots of the quiz talk schedule are fully booked until December 2020. And those who remain will have the opportunity to speak next year. So we are looking forward to listening to our dynamic faculty members. Our beloved Provost, Madam, is sharing the quiz platform for the first time. So I once again extend our heartfelt welcome to you, ma'am. As we all know that change is constant and will always occur. And understanding its component on an individual level can help us relate it to an organizational level. Change is important to understand as it affects many facets of an organization. The more you can understand the change and how it has been perceived and explained by the others, it will be easier to find out your own way to manage it. So today, to talk about the specifics of managing change, I would like to introduce to our today's resource person. He is a member of our Vanita Visham family, Dr. Himanshu Thakkar, an assistant professor in School of Commerce and Business Management. He earned his PhD in accountancy from VNSGU in 2020 and qualified for the UGC NET and Gujarat SET examination. With a teaching experience of 13 years, he has taught accounting and finance as well as other management-related subjects. He has attended various national and international conferences, seminars, workshops, and presented and published numerous research papers on accountancy, finance, and higher education. His expertise and contribution have made him invaluable both in the classroom and in the distance learning applications. Dr. Thakkar was involved in revising material for bachelor and master programs. Additionally, he has contributed to various campus activities to promote a positive university change. And I'm very excited to listen to your ideas. So I welcome you, sir, and hand over this space to you.
Thanks a lot, Sashina. Thanks to all those participants who are present here. It really gives me a lot of motivation to present in front of you my views regarding one of the management topic, which is very relevant in today's time. Before I start, I would like to thank all the dignitaries of the dais, especially ma'am, who has initiated this program. Am I audible? So let me start with my topic. As you already know, I'm going to talk about management of change. Change the slide. Yes. So whenever I teach this topic, which is related to management, I always tell my students that any topic of management, it is meant for the organizations, meant for the businesses. But if you understand the concept and if you can apply the concept into your day-to-day living, you can enhance your performance at whatever place you go, right? So for instance, we learn in management, planning, organizing, but it is such a common thing that even a small child planning for the next day's periods in the school, he or she puts the books for the next day. He or she is doing planning and organizing, right? So although we learn these things in various B schools, but these are such simple and such concepts which we use in our day-to-day living, right? So if we can master such skills, we can definitely ensure that we are going to perform better, we are going to be effective, right? So let's talk about management of change. Now, to understand management of change, we need to understand change first, right? The change that we are experiencing these days. It's like change. One of the biggest change that I can say that has come to every one of us because of the COVID. Now let's try to make this session little interactive. Now, before you actually understand what I'm going to talk about, right? I don't think many students are here sitting are from management stream. Anybody from management right now? No. So, okay, you're from management. Great. Now, most of the students, those who are sitting here, are not from the management background. So, if I ask you, have you tried to manage change brought in by COVID-19? Yes, we had to do it, right? We want to survive, we want to live. So, we had to manage. And how did we manage? How did we manage? We tried to, you know, bring the change in whatever processes that we were used to do. Like, let's take the example of classroom teaching learning process. It was just, we always expected that for the teaching learning process to be effective, you should be in the class in front of the teacher, and then only you can learn, right? But change management, it has taught us that it's not just the class which is the only place where you can learn. Many of you learned from the online classes that your faculties conducted. Many of you even did some online courses. Yes, if I'm not wrong, during these last 2 years, you learned so much about being online, right? So that is a management of change, right? During COVID period, every one of us realized that it is possible to survive without going to restaurants. We can enjoy the delicacies which are prepared at home, right? We understood the importance of relations when we were not able to meet our friends, our family members, right? So that has made us to change our thinking process, how we look at the things, right? So COVID, yes, of course, it's a global pandemic and it has created a lot of sufferings. But at the same time, those who are able to survive out of it have become stronger individuals, right? From the physical as well as mental point of view. So COVID is something that has caused change, and those who are able to manage the change that has been brought by COVID-19 have come out stronger. Yes. So this is a global change that has occurred recently. Moving on, few years back, if you remember, there was demonetization, right? What happened to you? What happened to the Indian economy? How people in India waited outside banks to convert their currency notes, right? How people were waiting outside ATMs to get the money and so that they can go on with their living. So we have tried to manage that change also. Now that you can see, that change can be reflected in your routine now. The amount of cash we used to keep before demonetization in our pocket has reduced drastically. Now we are dependent on the plastic currency, we are dependent on electronic payment methods, right? Anywhere we go, we immediately take out our mobile phone and we try to scan the code and make the payment. This is management of change, right? Now we talked about global change, we talked about a change that has happened at a national level. Moving on, this is another change. Creation of university from some group of colleges, right? See, it's not that simple, but we are still trying to manage it, isn't it? We had to manage our schedules, we had to manage the admission process. The guys who are not here sitting right now, the faculty members, are busy managing the change for the exam starting tomorrow. Right? This is management of change. Right? We need to work after it. Right? So, no matter how difficult the change is or how simple the change is always going to be there, whether it is a global change, national change, or a regional or an organizational change, or for that matter, it can be also a change at individual level. Now, this is my family, she's my wife, and he's my son. Now, how change has come to my life, and I'm trying to manage that situation. My son is a Down syndrome kid. Now, just like any other parent, I had my expectations, I had my milestones for my son, that at this age he will do like this, and at this age he will achieve this much, and like that. But if you have some idea about Down syndrome, they are basically slow learners. So, a normal kids generally start walking by the age of 2. My son started walking at the age of 4. Right? So, I had to manage the change then. I have to make sure if I plan some trip, I have to make sure that I'm carrying my son, I'm holding my son in my arms, right? Similarly, when it comes to speaking, he started late, so I had to understand the kind of gesture he makes to know how he's going to progress, right? So this is change at individual level. So change can be either global change, it can be national change, it can be a small level change at any organization, it can also be an individual change, right? And at each stage of change, each and every person has to try to manage along with the change, right? So this is something that whether you learn management or you don't learn management, you have to learn management of change, because one thing is for sure that is going to happen is the change is going to happen again and again, right? So the term change refers to any alteration which occurs in the overall work environment of an organization. Now we are trying to learn the definition from the point of view of management. That anything that changes the overall work environment of an organization is a change. So what is organizational change then? Organizational change occurs when an organization transforms its structure, strategies, methods, culture, and other elements to reorganize and restructure the organization. It implies alternation of structural relationship and role of people in an organization. In simple words, organizational change takes place when organization makes a transition from its current position. So what we are doing right now, and we start doing something else tomorrow, that is a change, right, in how we perceive the things. Next slide, please. Now let's try to understand the features of change so that we can understand how it works and we can be ready for managing the change. First thing is, it either results from outside or it can also be from inside forces. Right? Sometimes you feel motivated that I want to change my academics and I want to study hard, and then you start preparing well for the examination. So this is a change in your attitude towards the studies that has come from within. And in other case, you get less marks and you are told that if you don't clear this exam in the next attempt, you will lose some opportunities. Now that is the change that will be forced from outside, right? At some point in time, we feel that we are putting on some weight and we are taking a lot of sugar. Then and we decide that no, I want to quit this habit. I want to change my habits. So when you think that way, that is a change from within. And when you go to a doctor and the doctor says that you are going to be soon a diabetic, so better control your sugar intake. So that is a change which will be forced from the outside forces, right? So it can be both ways. Now, which according to is better? If something positive is going to happen to you, it is always better that comes in from your within, right? From yourself, rather than taking someone's advice and then doing it. We all know what is good and what is bad for us. We need to act accordingly. That's how we will be able to manage the change better, right? Next is, sorry, please stay on that slide. A change in any one part of organization affects the whole organization. Now, sometimes we feel that if XYZ is going to face that change, we are not going to be affected. But change is something sooner than later is going to affect each one of us. Right? For example, take the example which we discussed just now of COVID-19. It all started in China, right? And then some countries thought it's not going to affect us, we'll cut down on the flights and we'll be able to manage the change. But somehow it spread throughout across the countries, and we know the results after that, right? So change is something, it's going to affect us. So if someone is facing a change, right, we should be ready for that kind of change happening to us too. Let's take an example to understand this point. There was a farmer and his wife living in a small house. Now they had in their house a hen and a goat. One day the farmer kept a rat trap. You all know a rat trap is to catch a rat. So he kept it in the room. So the rat went to the hen and said, "Ki, there is a rat trap and there is something we should worry about." Hen says, "Why should I worry? It's a rat trap, right? So you should worry. Why should I worry?" Right? That rat went to the goat and told the goat that there is a rat trap inside the house. So the goat started laughing. This should affect you. That change is going to affect you, not me. Right? Rat said that okay, it is going to affect me. I'm not going to stay in this house anymore. So he leaves the house. Few days after that, a snake gets caught in that rat trap at night. The farmer's wife was not able to see in the dark that it's not a rat, it's a snake. And the snake bites the wife and she fell sick because the snake was poisonous. Doctors are called and doctors, after looking the condition, says that she is very critical and she is to be provided some nutritious food. So the farmer thinks of feeding her with chicken soup. So hen was killed and then soup was given to that lady. After a few days, her conditions deteriorated and she finally was no more. And to conduct the ceremonies, the death ceremonies and the rites, the goat was butchered to feed the villagers. So ultimately, a small change at some place cannot be ignored. It's a big warning for the future changes that are supposed to come. It affects all the parts in the organization, but at varying degree of significance and a varying speed. Right. So it affects everyone. The speed can be different for different departments, different organizational, different aspects of your business, but it is going to affect you. It may affect people, structure, technology, working process, work environment, organization, policy, and other elements of organization. And another feature is change is inevitable. Change is inevitable, right? So, for instance, when we started this university, there were some questions raised that we are offering too many generic subjects, and which no other university or college is offering, right? Why should we change that much and put additional burden on ourselves? But sooner than later, this is going to happen at every place. So why not be the trendsetters that we can do this, right? And that's how the change is inevitable. We need to accept it and we need to work after it to manage it better. It is a continuous phenomenon, and organization has to manage it. It is a continuous phenomenon, right? So even after creation of university, we are not going to stop here. We are going to create some of the other things which is going to boost the image of Vanida Vishram in the coming days, because change is going to be a continuous process and we need to keep changing for our betterment, right? Now the question arises, why there is a need to change? Why everything is changing, or why we should try to manage the change? There are certain reasons behind it. Number one is to adapt with the environment. Right? We are living in the age of globalization, so we cannot say that I am secluded and I'm going to think as my individuality. Your environment is going to force you to change, right? So you need to adapt to the environment, and that's why we are supposed to change. To assess the dynamics of external environment as well as internal environment for better performance. If we don't change, our performance remains the same, right? I talk to my TY students and I tell them that you are supposed to get good percentage in your final year of your graduation because you want to get admission at some master's degree or some good place. So for that, you have to ensure that you change your lifestyle and you spare more time after your studies. Because if you're going to live like that, a year back, whatever you were doing, if you continue living like that, you're not supposed to create wonders in terms of your results. If you want to improve your result, you need to change your lifestyle. You need to focus more. You need to put in more time in your efforts, right? So for better performance, change is inevitable. Change in desires and expectations of customers. Now, when we are talking about the business, the customers keep on changing their preferences. So we need to be ready for that, right? Then only we'll be able to serve them better. To adapt itself with new technology, and as I said, due to globalization, due to some emergency, we are supposed to change. COVID-19 was in itself was an emergency, and we all needed to change, and we needed to learn quickly how the online teaching learning process goes on. So emergency also forces us to change. Change in the management. Well, those who already know the management has changed in the recent days, and we all know how it is going to affect or it is affecting the processes, the internal structures are changing, the processes are changing, right? So it is going to affect each and every one, right? To correct the existing deficiency of existing structure, right? There are always scope, there's always a scope of improvement, and that can be checked when you try to change. If you think everything is perfect, then there are chances that you miss out on the deficiencies, the points where you lack, you'll skip that. So you always keep in mind that change is always done for the betterment, right? For removing the deficiency and for better performance. Okay. So these are the forces that create need for change. The change in the technology is going to create it will become a force after the change. Change in the managerial personnel and workers, market conditions, change in existing structure, social changes, crisis and emergency, opportunity and threat to meet performance gap between goals and achievements, political, economic, legal, environment, globalization. So these are the forces that will ensure that you change. It's like this. Now the question, the next point is levels of change. I've already discussed a little at the start of this session. It can be an individual level change that is going to affect an individual first, and then the group, and then the organization. So it first starts at the individual level, then group level change affecting a few individuals as a group, and then it will affect the organization. And finally, the organizational level change. Right. So these are the levels at which the change takes place. Now this is interesting. Types of change. The change can be reactive or proactive. Right. Suppose if we were not formed as a university this year, what would have happened? Right. We would have been forced in a couple of years to prepare new syllabuses, provide new subjects to the students. Right. So that was supposed to happen 2 years or 3 years from now. That change would have been a reactive change. Changing to what is happening and then changing ourselves is a reactive change. But expecting what is there in the future and trying to be ready for that change is a proactive change. Now you tell me, which gives you chances of success, which has the higher chances of success or to meet the future situation? It's a proactive change, right? So we don't have to just manage the change after the situations are out of our control, but we have to be ready for any kind of out of control situation in advance, right? So this is reactive and proactive change. The next type is strategic change. Change in priorities. It's a strategic change. You want to change as an organization. Earlier you are selling a product, now you are selling a service. Now, how many of you used to watch movies before the COVID was in the world? you must have booked tickets on Book My Show, right? Now, after COVID-19, the people who used to go to theaters have reduced drastically, and it has affected Book My Show a lot. I mean, the entire business structure was based on online ticket booking of movies. Now, how did they manage this? They did a strategic change. They converted their application of OTT, booking tickets, and they converted into an OTT platform. So now, once the movie is out of theaters, they will put it on the Book My Show application. So if you pay some amount of money for that particular movie, you can watch it on your mobile phone or any other device for that matter. This is a strategic change in the way they are doing their services. Then structural change in whole structure and in the pattern of relationship among various positions. Then comes process oriented or people oriented change. So if you are going to change the process, then it is a process oriented change. If you are going to change the how the people work in your organization, it's a people oriented change. Moving on. This is a process of plan change. If you want to change effectively, if you want to manage the change effectively, you need to make sure you follow these three steps so that you get the best results out of the change. First thing is you need to go for unfreezing, right? So it's a common thing that if you want to learn something new, first you need to unlearn which you already know, whatever you already know. So first step is unfreezing. Unfreezing means unlearning of old things to learn new things, right? Then next step is whatever change you want to bring into your organization, into your lifestyle, into your individuality, bring in that change and make sure you stabilize on the change. Right? Suppose you want to score 10 to 15 percentage more than what you scored last year. So first you need to look, you cannot just start that from now on I'm going to study for 5 years daily. You're not set for 15 minutes every day. Now you think and you want to plan for sitting for 5 years daily. What you have to do first is unfreezing. Just identify in your routine how much time you spend after your mobile phones or some other kind of activities or watching TV or something like that. Cut on those activities and then bring the change. Not by telling that I'll be studying for 5 years daily. It will happen 1 or 2 days and then again you will be back to the routine. So first thing you need to do is unfreeze. You need to identify where you are right now. And you need to unlearn. You need to organize yourself. Then you bring in the change, and that change which has to be continued for a long period of time, that will be refreezing. Right? So refreezing is stabilization of implemented changes. This is how you can bring change. Right? It's like now one thing is for sure, if you are into an organization, it's always going to be there. It's not just the organization, at individual level also you will feel resistance. Why should I change? Every person lives in his or her equilibrium, right? Peace of mind. So if you bring a change in a routine or any kind of activity, that person will feel bad, right? Just go into the kitchen and wherever your mama keeps the mixer grinder, just take it from there and put it somewhere near to make convenient for her. She'll say, no, don't do that. Please don't do that. I interfere when you study. I come to your place when you are studying. No. So don't interfere in my work. Because she is at equilibrium. She does not like to change. You will explain her, Mama, but this will ease your work. No, I don't want any kind of ease now. I will do it myself. And this is resistance. You don't want to change even though it is beneficial for you. Right? So, how to manage this resistance? So, what kind of resistance? It will be at individual or group level. Individual group level. The one example which I gave you just now is an psychological factor. I feel good about putting that mixer grinder at that place. That's the reason. There is no logic after it. Right? That is psychological factor. There can also be economic factors. That if this change comes, I'm going to lose economically. I'll lose money. I'll lose position like that. So that is economical factor that is going to affect, right? And that is going to create the resistance from the individual. Next is social factors. If this change comes, right, I'll lose my connections, I'll lose my friends, right? They will look me differently. I'll be a different person in the society. These all factors also create resistance. And trust factors. Every time there is a change, you always have an issue with the trust. And whether this is something which is actually going to benefit me. Even if your parents tell you to behave in a particular manner or to make slight change in your routine, you'll always think, what are they planning to do? If your mama tells you, wear these types of clothes, don't wear this type of clothes, you immediately start thinking, मेरी शादी के बारे में तो बात नहीं सोचो नहीं, isn't it? So these are all factors which create resistance at the individual and group level. Then organizational resistance also comes when you are running a big organization. Resistance comes from the organization is because of the threat to power. You may start thinking that whatever positions I am holding right now, whatever I've done so far in the organization, will I be able to secure my position? Right? Then resource constraint is always something that is there in an organization. That when you think about change, the resistance first comes that we don't have enough resources. How will we be able to bring this change? So that is resistance. Then some cost, whatever if whatever resources or the costs which are put in by the management are always at a question that now if this change comes in, what will happen to whatever resources already put into the organization before this change? So that is also going to create a resistance. Next, now these are some strategies. If you can just go through it, how we can manage the situation of resistance, right? So if you can see here, first you need to do effective communication of change so that they clearly know, each and every individual, each and every group knows that this is for the betterment of the organization, betterment of individuals. So there are less chances that the resistance will continue. Then you should also consult the leaders of informal group and union leaders before actually bringing the change in the organization. You can even think of providing education and training regarding whatever change you want to bring into the organization. Next slide. Facilitation support, remove physical barriers in implementing change by providing proper training, tools, and materials. Then negotiation, offering extra incentives to those who are resisting change. Manipulation can also be done. Manipulation of workers to suppress the resistance. And coercion and pressure, forcing people to accept changes. It is a risky technique and should be wisely used. Last one is not very advisable, but होते हैं कुछ लोग लातों के बातों से नहीं मानते. That is the last option that you can resort to bring in the change. That should not be used first. Try all the methods and still there is a resistance, then go with the last way. Right? Now, we have discussed a lot about change, but we can always learn in management how others are able to manage the change. And for that, I have put in some case study which I'll be discussing with you, and you will be very happy to know that how these organizations have managed the change so well. Right? The first case is of Netflix. Okay, how many of you know about Netflix? Everyone knows it, right? I think it's the largest OTT platform across the world. So, do you know it started in 1997 with the service of DVD rentals. DVD rentals. In 2007, they realized that this is not going to work for long. Suppose if they would have continued the DVD rentals, who would have bought the DVDs these days? Forget about DVDs. How many of you still have DVD player at your home? I don't think anybody is having it now. You still have it. Soon you will not find any DVDs now. That's the issue with the DVD players. So they forecasted that how things will unfold in future with the increase in the internet users and the kind of mobile devices people will have, people will not sit in front of the TV with a DVD player, they will watch their content on the mobile phone. They predicted the change and they were ready for it. And that is the reason they are the largest OTT platform today across the world. And this is called management of change. Predicting what is going to happen in future and be ready for it. Right? Next, Lego. Now, as kids, we all must have played with such building blocks made by Lego. Now, you already know about it. These days, kids don't like to play with toys. Yes or no?
Yes.
Even parents, when the kid demands a particular toy, take this mobile, enjoy. Why to spend after toys? Now, if you are a toy manufacturing company who is selling toys for 150 years, and then suddenly people stop buying toys, what you will do? It's a big setback. How to manage this change? How to change the psychology of the kids that it is fun to play with toys? How to make that happen? So what did they do? They started creating their toys into characters of cartoon. Right? They released few movies, Lego Batman, Lego Spider-Man. So by that, they ensure that if you don't want to buy toys, we'll come to your mobile phone screen and we'll show you the characters. You will come to us that I want these action figures. That's how they manage the change. So they not only started making movies, but they also started making applications which are AR, augmented reality. You put your camera and you will find the character standing next to you on your mobile screen. So this is how they manage the change. Right? Next, Domino's Pizza. Right? Now this is a case study. Yeah? If you order it today after going home, that is not my fault. This is just a case study I am discussing. Now Domino's at one point of time was not able to sell enough pizzas. I mean, they were not able to meet their sales target. So then they realized people actually don't feel that excitement about pizzas. So let's make some advertisements that every time you watch that Domino's advertisements, it is for sure that you're going to order a pizza within a week. This is their chain money. And they will show that cheesy bite of that pizza slice. Huh? It feels so exciting to watch such advertisement on television. Right? When we watch such advertisement, we feel our homemade food also very tasty. When we are eating and when we see that advertisement. This is the impact of advertisement. Right? This is how they manage the change. That if people are not buying your pizzas, show them to that level that they enjoy watching and then they are forced to buy. Another example I like to quote here is the example of Cadbury Silk.
Yeah.
When you see that advertisement, I don't know who eats like that. They create mess out of the chocolate, but somehow you're motivated to buy that chocolate. Right? When you see the advertisement of Silk, you will not like any other chocolate after that. When you see that, within a week you will try to buy that chocolate, right? So this is how you can manage your change. Right? Next. Okay, who is having Nokia phone right now? What are you saying? 15 years back, if I would have asked the same question, there would have hardly been one or two people who were not having Nokia phone. Otherwise, rest of the people were using Nokia phone. Where is Nokia brand, mobile phone brand? Nowhere. Why? Overconfidence and resistance to change. They thought that their operating system, Symbian operating system, is good enough to compete iOS and Android. In 2007, when iPhone was launched for the first time, along with it, Google also purchased Android and started selling mobile phones, started providing software to the mobile phone companies, touchscreen based operating systems with lots of features. They had time to switch to such operating systems, but they were having confidence on their investments in that Symbian operating system. We just now talked about resistance. They did resisted to change, and the result we all know. Nokia is nowhere in the market right now as a mobile phone brand. Of course, Nokia company is still doing good in some IT supplies, but mobile phone, you know, right. Next case, Coca-Cola. Now, you already know Coca-Cola is not an Indian brand, but when they entered India, they saw that there is a competition from Thumbs Up, they bought it. But now we know that Coca-Cola and Thumbs Up are from the same manufacturers. The only competitor Coca-Cola is left with Pepsi. Now, Coca-Cola is an older brand. Pepsi was launched later. So when Pepsi was launched, some people started liking because Pepsi was bit sweeter than Coca-Cola. So people started buying Pepsi. To cope up with this situation, what they did was they started making Coca-Cola little sweeter. But this backfired. People, those who were liking Coca-Cola, started hating it. That this is sweeter now. Now, this was the time you need to think that there's nothing wrong in changing and coming back to where you started. This is also kind of a change management, right? If the situation is like that, that if you do something for betterment and if it is not working out, let's go back to the where you started. Why to continue and justify that whatever change that you took or whatever management of change that you did was right? So what they did immediately within a month or two, they again changed the formula of Coca-Cola back to where it was. And this is also management of change. Okay. So that's it. So I hope today's session will help you to face any situation and manage the change in the best possible manner that will, make you win the situations in whatever situations you are in your life. Okay. Thank you so much.
Very heartful thank you, Himanshu ma'am. Excellent presentation and excellent way of delivery. Any questions, audience, students, friends? I'm Shubha.
No, if there are questions, I don't have questions.
Okay.
But
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we need different kind of strategies to deal with the reactive change and proactive change? Because reactive may be forced in nature and proactive from the within. So do we need different kind of strategies to manage the change?
See, reactive change is something which you're forced to do and you don't have choices there. But when you plan for any proactive change, you can have options. This is my plan A, plan B, plan C, because it's a proactive. You don't know how future is going to unfold. So if you can plan your future, if you want to be ready for the future, you can always have plan A, plan B, plan C. Like I always tell my final year students that when you think that I want to make a career into this, don't just have that in your mind. It may happen that that course lose its importance or there is some change or for some reason you don't get admission in that particular course. You should always have a backup plan. So when you go for a proactive change, you always go with the backup of what you think the change will be. So that's how it's different than the reactive change.
And I'll add that the time that is given to a student to just adapt to the plan B is also very less. You just say that you're not getting into this line. What next would this is available? Will you take it or not? So you have to be that proactive. Ma'am.
comments. So, extremely nice talk, extremely well presented, fantastic, very nice. So it's good that we started the quest. I'm so happy that we started with Himanshu because it was, and I think everybody will follow suit, and I'm sure everyone will make presentations as good as him, if not better. My comment is, thanks so much, Himanshu, for taking this topic, because I'm sure there are going to be lots of changes, some changes which I would also like to introduce. And I'm glad that he set the platform that when the change is going to be introduced, the faculty is going to be a little bit more attentive to looking at the brighter side, not take it negatively and always keep thinking that this is going to be a change that's going to be for the betterment of the university. So I do hope that there's going to be cooperation from all of you in changes which are going to come in the near future. So that's my comment. So thank you, Manchu, again. Very nice.
First of all, I want to congratulate Dr. Himanshu Thakkar. Very nice presentation. And in a simplest manner, he tried to explain what he wanted to convey. So that is really wonderful, because many a time we see that the resource person has a content knowledge and everything, but the communication, what does we want to say to the audience and the audience के mind में वो set होना चाहिए, वो बहुत important होता है, and that he did that. So the wonderful thing that he did. I hope that in coming, like Madam told, in coming session also, the session should be like such कि वो कोई भी discipline के हो. Right? Our motto, our purpose is that multidisciplinary. So maybe science topic हो तो भी वो हमें समझ आना चाहिए as a layman. So I think that being management topic, he tried his level best, and all the audience, looking to the faces of the audience, they must have got the thing what he wanted to convey. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Any comments, suggestions, questions? Anyone wants to say anything?
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. I would just like to comment that आपने जो Domino's का जो example दिया, it was very true example, because as I know, Domino's was not doing well at the start, and so उन लोग जितने भी orders आते थे, आप लोग का logo देखा होगा, उसके में 3 dots है, 2 in blue color and 1 in red color. So as they were not doing well at the start, so what they used to do was, one order आया, 1 dot, second order आया, second dot, and that's how they formed their logo. And then after उन्होंने change implement किया, उसके ऊपर workout किया, then the results were so good that उन लोगों के अंदर और dots की बिल्कुल भी space नहीं थी. So your example of implementing the change and seeing its results, working towards it, was a very true one. Because उसके लोगों के अंदर form हो गया, उसके अंदर they were like और कोई dots की जगह नहीं है. We are getting so many orders for only 3 dots की जगह. So the example was very true one. So,
Just commenting, like Atul Bakery, we have signed an MOU with them, and till now they had the tagline of Taza Hamesha, and that was a very popular tagline, very well accepted. And now that they are going globally, they have they had to change that tagline, and it's a piece of freshness. House of Freshness. So that they have put the hoardings everywhere just to emphasize the change in their tagline and saying that they are going globally. Thank you very much, Dr. Himanshu Thakkar, from on behalf of Vishram University. We have set a benchmark, and those who are coming next now have to look upon to this presentation and the way you have expressed today. I also thank Anjali Madam for your support and encouragement. The way Quest had started with a few topics, but now that the faculties themselves would be taking it up, we all look forward. And I thank Dr. Shashi Saini, the coordinator of Quest, who has encouraged people. There was a change, because getting students, we always, whenever we decide such thing, we feel that it's okay, agar 10 jane honge to bhi chalega, 5 jane honge to bhi chalega, let us do it. But when we come over here and there are only 5 people, really 5 people, we get hyper and we think that what should we do. So she could gather the students jahan se the, and I hope that all of you have enjoyed this session. Thank you all the faculty members. Thank you all. Wonderful session, Himanshu. All very good.
it's a kind of proactive change among the departments by showing their name in list of the
Just a second, please. May I request Dr. Anjali Karande to present a certificate to Dr. Himanshu Thakkar to be a resource person for us. This is also a change. The previous faculties who have presented till now did not get the certificate starting from. So let's have a huge round of applause for Dr. Himanshu Thakkar. Thank you very much.